I'm the one who went forward for this traffic calming project and completed everything that was required of us to do this. So I sent all of you a letter asking for your support and a copy of the report. I do have some maps if you want to look at them, but I'm asking for your support in this. This is a main street that goes all the way from Highway 92 to Highway 339, and people out of the area are using it, and it's becoming very dangerous for our community. It's a neighborhood, and the traffic is out of control, and the speeding is out of control. We've asked for help with from the Sheriff's Department. They come out when they can, and so please support our project. I hope that you can transfer those funds now so we can get this started. Thank you.
Councilman Boudreaux. Okay. Next speaker, please.
The next and final speaker is Robert Bixenman.
Council, thank you. Mayor, President. I'm a resident of Milton. I see the traffic situation that takes place on these streets that we're talking about, and we're talking about Esposie and Grand Avenue. There are no sidewalks on these streets. If you walk these streets, you either have to walk the street or walk in a ditch. Traffic becomes an issue, speed becomes an issue, and it's not safe. I think there's a report, and I'm assuming that all of you got this report, which is the report Esposie Area Traffic Calming Report. It pretty well spells out everything that was needed. I think Ruth and I spent about 2 years trying to put all of this together, and she's acquired everything that she was supposed to get in order for this to happen. Therefore, I'm requesting that y'all do the right thing and support this resolution. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Boudreaux.
Thank you. Warren, and I'm going to call Mark with you because he's not going to let you come up by yourself. Although this is more of a historical question. And also, could you allow me to engage the Finance Director, Ms. Lori Toops, as well, please?
Ms. Toops, your mic is hot.
So my concern is the funding aspect of it and how we utilize funds. I went back into just about every budget book that I have in my office. When the traffic calming program initiated, there used to be a line item for traffic calming in the city of Lafayette capital program. I've never seen one in the parish. And this is a historical question. Why?
I believe because all of those neighborhoods that were successful in completing the program were in the city. And I'm scared to say that this was the only one ever in the parish, but there has been very few and far between of neighborhoods that have successfully navigated the traffic calming policy in the parish.
So you don't put money in the budget until someone completes the program?
Currently, that's correct.
Okay. Because there has been an ongoing line item, and that has been to fund, and I'm going to say in the city for now, for example, that has been to fund city programs that have successfully completed their packages and processes.
Yeah, historically, over the past couple of years, that's been correct. Recently, we haven't put anything for new traffic calming, but we would come to the council like we are now whenever a neighborhood successfully completes the program.
Okay. Back to the parish issue. Was there any consideration, kind of piggybacking on Mr. Castillo now, was there any consideration for better use or other use of available funding as it relates to these dollars? And I'm talking about because we spend a lot of time here talking about the parish financial situation. Was there, and that might not be you, Warren, it might be more Mark.
Well, it should be me,
Yeah.
and there probably wasn't enough scrutiny of that on my personal behalf of doing so to investigate every account, every source of money that we had. This is a capital account has been traditionally funded every year, and it was budgeted as it had been the year before. And so there is a surplus in that account. And so during budget, there was not consideration to redirect those funds at that time.
Okay. Which brings me almost to my conclusion. You know, I've been fortunate. My colleagues have allowed me to be the finance chair of this council, I think on 7 occasions in my 11 years here. And I've been in and out that budget, up and down that budget. And, you know, there were certain things that the council historically, we've had changes that have taken place, but as it relates to mid-year budget revisions, other times when money was being moved and how it's moved, and keeping a watchful eye, okay? Because every penny counts now. We see the challenges to get millages brought forward successfully in past. We see the challenges we have in getting revenue, new revenue that it's needed. And again, this is in particular on the parish side. So the control of this money is crucial in the parish, in particular. It's very crucial. My preference is when we're able to, and that was one of the things I brought out in my initial concern, among other things, but one of those was the scrutiny that takes place when we're able to dissect what we're doing here. I don't think we're dissecting anything here. Moving this money as is, that's one of the concerns I have, and that's why I can't support it, okay? I know that I have had programs funded outside of the normal protocol, and I had to face the music. I had to sign my name on it, and I had to come before the council and ask for those dollars. I have asked that this program, and of course this is pre-Mark Dubrock, and I think I made that clear to you, that this program should be about safety, okay, and not about petitions. And people was critical of me. They say, well, you did this, you did that. Everything I did had to come in front of the 9 members and get by the administration. What I see here is a process, especially because it's with parish dollars, which we look at totally different than city dollars. Whether we're talking about a pay raise or any, oh Lord, they're getting me like you. Whether we're talking about a pay raise or anything else. I don't think we put enough scrutiny into this on where this project falls versus everything else that the parish needs. And as we could see, the parish needs a lot. We talked about some of it earlier. So I'm like Mr. Castillo, I'm not going to support it until such time that it could be submitted in a process where we could evaluate it thoroughly and determine where this falls as it relates to priority for everything else we have to do in the parish of Lafayette. Thank you.
Mr. Duyal.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Warren, one of the first things when I came aboard, there was some residents from Vivian Drive, remember? They were right off of Bonet Road, and I think that might have been the parish. There may have been a line item at that time, and this is back in 2016. So just maybe afterwards, you and I can kind of look and see where that funding came from.
Okay.
It may have been only one speed bump, maybe it may have been
That was
10 grand.
maintenance funds designated for traffic calming.
Back in 16.
In 16, we did a Vivian Drive and we did a Downing Street. And the criteria of the program is so stringent on the safety, from a safety perspective, because as engineers, we don't really like speed bumps. There's a lot of play in the necessity for speed bumps and effectiveness, but it's a perception thing in the public. It's been a perception thing with the council, and so that's why these speed humps have been approved and built in other parts of the parish, mainly in the city, mainly because there's more traffic in the city. That's where the need is. So out of the 10 that we've looked at in the last 2 years, only 4, including this one, have met all of the safety, the traffic studies, the safety studies, the speed studies that go into approving it or to recommending it for approval. Because what we're doing here is recommending it for approval, and we did find the money in the account to move it. But But the petition was valid in every aspect of the petition. The residents worked very hard to do that. But more importantly, from our perspective, it met all of the traffic safety requirements, and those have been fairly rare. The other 6 in the program that were built didn't necessarily meet either one of those criteria, or met one and not the other. So out of the 10 that we've looked at in the last 2 years, this would be one of only 4 that met all of the criteria. And so that's why we presented it to you. So that's where it is.
Councilman Boudreaux?
Yeah, my question, Lori, I did forget to ask this question, and I'm glad I wrote my notes down. In a correspondence that we received, the residents was informed that the money was there, they just had to go through the process. In this particular line item, which is a relatively larger account, within that account, is traffic calming identified as one of the services or measures or projects that could come out of this account? Or could they have been told the money was there just assuming that there would be extra parish money?
The title of the account is sign material, so they would not have been able to take traffic calming out of that without going through this process where you take it out of sign material and put it into traffic calming.
So, for our purpose, there was no money identified for a traffic calming project in the parish. What we're actually being asked to do is move money from something else to pay for this project.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that's about it. I have a couple questions. Basically, the engineering and traffic department is recommending it for
Yes.
this calming to be done.
Yes.
They did everything they were supposed to do. There is a safety issue, and they did everything that we are telling them to do.
Yeah, they follow the policy 100%.
Thank you, that's all I have. Seeing no other Councilman Lewis.
Okay, Warren, my question is, you guys saying that they did everything they were supposed to do, they meet the qualification. What are the qualifications?
There's a traffic calming policy that was adopted by council that lines out step by step what they have to do for us to recommend speed lumps to go in.
Well, I'm not gonna ask you to tell me every last one, but which is the most important one that you would say that makes them qualify for this?
Well, for me as an engineer, the most important one is the speed data, right, that we
okay.
collect that beats the guidelines. But there's also 2 rounds of petitions, a 50% petition for us to even study the traffic data, and then there's a 66% petition if the data lines out that there's a need that they have to get the speed lumps.
So what you are saying is the petition plays a big factor in it?
Yes.
So it's not necessarily just because of the speed calming, just a petition. So if anyone out in the public would like to have a speed calming, all they have to do is get a petition signed?
No.
I mean, that's what I'm hearing.
No, the policy is two petitions and the speed data. There's guidelines for the speed and traffic volume data that has to be met in order to meet the policy. Any one of the steps, if it doesn't meet, then it doesn't meet the policy as a whole. In this case, every one of the steps met.
Every one of the steps.
Yeah, the traffic data, it was justified, the installation, and the petitions were signed.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Nakam.
In regards, I guess Laurie and Mark, in regards to this fund we're talking about, can any of that money be taken out of signs or anything else and put in ditch cleaning for the parish?
That is coming from the road and bridge maintenance millage, so it's restricted to those purposes.
But it can be used for that,
For drainage, not without going,
without doing what we're just doing here, just moving money.
no, that would have to go to a vote of the public. The public restricted that millage for road and bridges.
Talking
So
about the signs, the sign money.
the sign money is for street signs, road signs.
Right.
And it's coming from that millage that's dedicated to roads and bridges.
So the money could be used for a road or bridge.
Road and bridge signs and sign material, or road and bridge work, or road and bridge maintenance, any road and bridge project. Or
If that money is, once we spend it, let's say this thing gets approved for 30 grand, do we put more money in that for the next project that might come across? Or once that 30,000 spent for that particular deal, is there, I mean?
No, that's it. And if another neighborhood comes through the process, we would sponsor another ordinance to come before y'all to fund that.
So I mean, is, the money's there is what I'm asking.
the money is in an account for signs, and what he wants to do is move it from the sign account to a traffic calming account. Because it's a named capital project, he cannot do that without your permission.
Right. I get it. I guess I'm trying to figure out that, if we do this for those people in that area, can we not do $30,000 a ditch cleaning in that area and get $30,000 somewhere else? I'm talking about,
Not with this 30,000, because this 30 is just roads and bridges.
right, but if there's, say, a gravel road.
Yes.
Because Domino's starting to pave roads in the parish. I call Domino's. I got one road that's really bad. So I'm trying to get money from Domino's, and I'm calling Dalford. So I'm just trying to figure out how we can get funding in the future for gravel roads, you know? So you follow the process, I get it. I don't want this to become a thing where every neighborhood from here on out is gonna start coming, right? And they're gonna go through the process. Naturally, I guess if it didn't meet your criteria, no matter how many petitions they would have signed, it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, we would not be up here asking for the transfer,
Okay.
yes.
I just want to make sure that there's something in place. I don't care if somebody comes with 5,000 signatures. If it's not meeting the criteria, I don't want this to become a doorway that everybody in the parish is going to start asking for speed bumps. And then we're going to have all kind of, I mean, personally, I'm not a big fan of speed bumps, but hey, it is what it is. I just want to make sure we're not having a process that everybody just starts coming and requesting speed bumps in their neighborhood. You know, we got to be able to say, hey, even though you got the petition, you're not meeting the criteria. But from my understanding, everything has been met.
Yes, sir.
All right, that's all I have.
Councilman Castillo.
Thank you, sir. Okay, if this can only be used for roads and bridges, we had a conversation earlier, me and Mr. Dubrock, about Jolie Road. Remember that road? Okay. That could pay for half of our section that we have to fund to finish that road off. The 77,000 is going to pay close to half. So priorities to me is roads, bridges, and drainage in the parish, in the unincorporated areas, in the whole entire parish, including the cities. This money could be used better on that type of issue, because we have safety issues throughout the parish. We have no sidewalks on these roads in the parish unless you live inside a subdivision. So, to me, if this fund, how much money is in this fund? This sign fund?
This project has 80,000, and they're taking 30 out, so it'll have a balance of 50,000.
So I could take that 80,000 and transfer it to Jolie Road and finish off that last section of Jolie Road. That's my point. We set a set of priorities out there, and we know funding is limited, so we should be looking at these areas. This, I understand to the residents that it's a priority to them, but I'm looking at everything as a whole, the big picture, and roads, bridges, and drainage is our priority. Mayor Presidents had stated it 1,000 times, this council has stated that 1,000 times. So this 30,000, like I said, can do half of my Jolie Road on the end that we responsible for, or gonna be responsible for, and there's enough in the fund to do the whole project if I wanted to take it, or anybody else. Roads, bridges, and drainage, okay? So, again, I'm gonna ask the council to not support this, is to try to keep our priorities straight and continue moving on the road and doing what we can for the people that we represent, okay? That's all I have for now, thank you.
Any more speakers?
Yes, sir.
Any other council discussion? Seeing none, please call for the vote.
District 7,
Yes.
District 8,
Yes.
District 9,
Yes.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
No.
District 3,
No.
District 4,
No.
District 5,
Yes.
District 6.
Yes.
The motion is approved.
We'll now move to appeals, which is deferred until February 19th, 2019. Is being deferred at the request of legal and planning. Announcements of vacancies on boards and commissions. Cindy, please read.
Due to expiration, a vacancy exists on the Alarm Review Board for a 4-year term effective February 1st, 2019. Applicants must be a minority as defined by Louisiana Revised Statute 382233.2. Due to expiration, 2 vacancies will exist on the Evangeline Thruway Redevelopment Team for 4-year terms effective May 1st, 2019. Due to resignation, a vacancy exists on the Transportation Policy Committee, the governing body of the Metropolitan Planning Organization, for an indefinite term. Applicants must reside within the unincorporated portion of Lafayette Parish or within a participating member jurisdiction in Lafayette Parish. Due to resignation, a vacancy exists on the Transportation Policy Committee, the governing body of the Metropolitan Planning Organization, for an indefinite term. Applicants must reside within the city of Lafayette. Individuals wishing to submit a resume for the above volunteer vacancies must be a registered voter and a resident of Lafayette Parish. Yearly ethics training for all appointees is required, as is financial disclosure under certain circumstances. Resumes are to be forwarded to Veronica L. Williams, Clerk of the Council, P.O. Box 4017-C, Lafayette, Louisiana 70502, or email to bclafayette@lafayette.la.gov no later than noon, Tuesday, February 19th, 2019, with appointments to be made on March 12th, 2019.
Okay, consider appointments by council as a whole to boards and commissions. Cindy, please read appointments.
Appointment to the Keep Lafayette Beautiful Committee for the remainder of an unexpired 2-year term through November 30th, 2020.
Okay, the resumes received for consideration are Brenda Andrus and Kate Dupree. No incumbent submitted. Any nominations from the council? Mr. Boudreau?
Yes, sir. I nominate Brenda Andrus, please.
Right here. Mr. Combs?
I nominate Katie Dupree.
Seeing no other nominations,
We'll vote by name, either Andrus or Dupree.
please call for the vote.
District 8, District 9, District 1, District 2, District 3, District 4, District 5,
Dupree.
District 6, District 7. Katie Dupree is the incumbent.
Is the nominee.
It's the nominee. Sorry.
Item number 18.
Appointment to the Emergency Medical Services Advisory Board for a 4-year term effective March 1st, 2019.
The resume received for consideration is from William Ritchie. William Ritchie is the incumbent. Councilman Castillo.
I'd like to nominate Richie.
Ritchie has been nominated. Any other nominations? Seeing none, please call for the vote.
District 9? Yes. District 1?
Yes.
District 2?
Yes.
District 3? District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
District 6?
Yes.
District 7? Yes. District 8? Yes. William Ritchie is the appointee.
And Ms. Williams, I failed to ask if there's any public comment on both of those. Was there any, just for the record?
No, there are no public comments.
Thank you. Appointments by council members, mayor, president, and/or other direct appointing authority. Please read.
1, Acadiana appointed Stephanie R. Snow to the Emergency Medical Services Advisory Board for a 4-year term effective March 1st, 2019.
Mayor President Joel Robideau appointed Joseph Tidwell to the Lafayette City Parish Recreation Advisory Commission for a 2-year term and 10-month term effective January 11th, 2019.
Thank you. We'll move to introductory ordinances. Items number 30, 35, and 36 are being pulled from the in globo list for separate vote and discussion. I need a motion and a second from the council to introduce ordinance items 21 through 29, 31 through 34. Motion by Councilman Boudreaux, second by Councilman Castile. Ms. Cindy, please read.
Ordinance 11, 2019. An ordinance of the Lafayette City Parish Council amending and supplementing Ordinance 189, 2018, the 30th supplemental ordinance, adopted on November 1st, 2018, to provide for the issuance of public improvement sales tax bonds, Series 2019A of the City of Lafayette, State of Louisiana, the issuer, pursuant to the General Bond Ordinance adopted on April 8, 1986, the General Bond Ordinance, prescribing the form of said bonds, providing for fixing the maturities of and interest rates on said bonds, providing for the payment of said bonds, and the application of the proceeds thereof, approving the preliminary official statement in connection therewith, providing for the acceptance of an offer to purchase said bonds, and providing for other matters in connection therewith. Ordinance 12, 2019, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Parish Council authorizing the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government to sell at an internet auction miscellaneous surplus LCG LUS movable property, which is no longer needed for public purposes as per the attached list auction. Ordinance 13, 2019, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Parish Council amending the fiscal year 1819 operating budget of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government to make appropriations adjustments within the Utilities Department. Ordinance 14, 2019, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Parish Council authorizing the Lafayette Mayor President to accept certain property described hereinafter for the purpose of operating and maintaining the necessary sewer lift station facility. Ordinance 15, 2019, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Parish Council authorizing the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government to sell at an internet auction miscellaneous surplus LCG movable property, which is no longer needed for public purposes as per the attached list auction. Ordinance 16, 2019, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Parish Council authorizing the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government to sell at an internet auction miscellaneous surplus LCG fiber movable property, which is no longer needed for public purposes as per the attached list auction. Ordinance 17, 2019, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Parish Council amending the fiscal year 1819 capital budget of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government by adjusting the line items in the amount of $150,000 within the Lafayette Police Department. Ordinance 18, 2019, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Parish Council amending the fiscal year 1819 capital budget of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government by adjusting line items in the amount of $55,000 within the Lafayette Police Department. Ordinance 19, 2019, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Parish Council to continue recognition of the Lafayette Fire Prevention Division as a Fire Prevention Bureau and maintain its certification by the Fire Marshal. Ordinance 21, 2019, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Parish Council amending the fiscal year 1819 operating budget of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government by transferring $4 million from net loss use of fund balance to contractual services within the Public Works Department to reappropriate budget that lapsed. Ordinance 22, 2019, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Parish Council amending the fiscal year 1819 operating budget of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government to make appropriations adjustments within the Communications Department. Ordinance 23, 2019, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Parish Council providing for the abandonment of the 60-foot right-of-way on the property of Conception Properties, LLC, located in the 1100 block of Rue de Billiers. Ordinance 24, 2019, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Parish Council declaring the building or structure located at 402 Rena Drive, Lafayette, Louisiana, owned by Delphina June Anderson Payne and Husker Partners, care of Gerald J. Block, attorney appointed, to be dilapidated and dangerous to the public welfare and ordering the condemnation of same.
Ms. Williams, any public comment?
No, sir.
Seeing no council discussion, please call for the vote on the in-global items.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
District 6, District 7, District 8, District 9. The motion to introduce is approved.
Please read ordinance number 30. I'm sorry, number 30, ordinance 20-2019.
Ordinance 2019, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Parish Council amending the fiscal year 1819 capital budget of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government by transferring $150,000.14 from various accounts to the Highway 167 Access Management Street Light Demo Project within the Public Works Department for additional funding needed.
Need a motion and a second? Need a motion and a second from the council to introduce this ordinance. I have a motion by Councilman Terrio, second by Councilman Conk. Councilman Boudreaux, you have the floor.
Thank you, sir. I pulled it, but it almost died on the vine, but since it's here. I guess the first thing is, I'm gonna be looking to defer this item until I'm gonna ask the mayor president to arrange a meeting with the governor and the director of DOTD, as it relates to this state project and the necessity. But the pulling of these funds from two projects that myself and working with the administration secured the 100% funding of the Dago Street project, as well as the land acquisition in the Hyman Park revitalization. And this, I learned about it when it got introduced. I guess, Mark, the only thing I really want to know, because I haven't even heard of this project, what exactly is this? We're taking down a light that belongs to us for the state to move forward with the project?
Yeah, this is the J-turn project they have underway in design for Johnson Street basically from the mall south to 733 and a bit beyond. The turn lanes that they'll be adding in the medians, the J-turns, require that the light poles be removed. They're obstructions to their work. Our lights are a utility from their perspective in their right-of-way, and so they've directed us to remove those.
So for me, members and Mr. President, perspective is going to be the key word. If this project is that important, they could pay for it themselves. And Dago Street is almost complete. The difficulty securing money, especially for projects in communities that don't have significant growth, growth patterns are significant when funding comes down from the federal government and the state government. They fund where people are going. In our communities where growth has been slow in coming or minimal, we depend heavily on local. I could tell you when I got here, Mr. President, the Dago Street project, and you, Mr. Dubrow, we had a $500,000 brand new concrete bridge coming from the back of the Target development connected to a gravel road. So when we talk about speed bumps in the parish, gravel roads are significant. That's where that project started in the late about 2008, 2009, and we were able to secure the funding to get what is out there now, the curb and gutter streetlight sidewalk road coming from the back of one of the best performing retail developments in the entire city and parish of Lafayette. And the funds that are left available, believe you me, I have more than enough plans and projects that I'm waiting. We had talked a couple of years ago when we talked about moving money around, about engaging the council and making us aware. So it was on a bigger ticket item. It was a number of projects to take care of something. But now we're talking about, as far as I'm concerned, doing something for the state. And then, of course, we're in the design phases of Hyman Park, which it might end up being 2 or 3 phases. We don't even have nearly enough money for what we want to do now. This is only the beginning, and we're taking money. So I'm going to ask that this item be deferred indefinitely until we could meet with DOTD and the administration of the state of Louisiana and any necessary senators and representatives that we need to meet with, or simply find the money from somewhere else. But please, please, the little money that we've been able to secure over the last 10 years, in particular for very needed projects of economic development, residential development, business encouragement, transportation improvement, and the list goes on and on, safety features, please don't touch our money. So I am putting a motion on the floor to defer this indefinitely until we could have some private meetings and resolve this.
There's a motion on the floor to defer this indefinitely. Motion by Councilman Boudreaux, second by Councilman Conk. Councilman Conk. He had already said it while Mr. Boudreaux was talking.
And I managed to second both the original motion and the deferral. I was going to vote, I wanted to hear the conversation, and thank you, Mr. Boudreaux. I agree with all your points, and I was going to vote against the motion. Now I will vote for the deferral.
Councilwoman Hebert.
I do plan to support this, but what has happened historically in a situation like this where DOTD comes in and says, we want to do this project, but you need to pay to remove your lights or whatever they deem to be part of the right-of-way? What has happened? We just always have done it?
That's
Or-
how it's represented to me, that we take care of, however we need to take care of our utilities. In this case, it's taking them out. We're
Right.
planning to pursue funding through MPO to replace them, because that's an additional huge amount of money to deal with that.
Sure. Is there a way that something like this, obviously they're going to need to put some sort of street lighting back?
That is not in their plan. Their position is that street lighting is not a safety feature for what they call a rural highway. We've said that's mischaracterizing it. It's an urban highway in that region, and it's appropriate to have lighting in that area. But DOTD sees things DOTD's way. The local district representatives went to Baton Rouge to try to put this into the project, both the removal and the new construction, which we ballpark estimated $1.5 million for the new light system. And that's where we made the move to see if MPO funds could be obtained for that. So we're preparing an application for MPO funding for that. But it's DOTD's right-of-way, and they have jurisdiction in eminent domain. And certainly I agree with Councilman Boudreaux. Let's pursue that as well.
Sure. And as do I. I guess I'm just trying to see what happens next. If we're saying we're deferring it indefinitely until a meeting happens and we come up with a different option, what happens if we just say we're not giving you the money to do this? Do they just say we're not doing the project?
I don't
Want to know the answer?
I don't know the repercussions of that.
Okay.
We occupy their right-of-way at their behest, and they've directed us to remove this obstruction. They perceive it to be obstructions.
Okay, Joel, would you know the answer to that? Using your state
Mike is
knowledge?
hot.
Okay, thank you. I would first say I do not know the answer to that. My inclination is that they would take them down for us, and they would withhold state funding from some other project that we have with them. But ultimately, I'm up for a fight. I'd say let's go and try and see if, Mark and them have been fighting this battle for a long time, so I don't want to give the impression at all that they did this and Public Works said, okay. We've gone back and forth a number of times, both arguing that whether or not the lights are a safety issue, and that it should be included in their funding for the entire project. It should not be a burden placed on us. It has bounced back and forth and fallen on deaf ears, as Mark said. DOTD's opinion is DOTD's opinion. So, but certainly I am willing to set up a meeting with state officials so that we can all have that meeting. I guess I can't invite everybody, Paul, because of the quorum issue. But let me figure out how we have that meeting, who gets invited,
Right.
and then we can come back, and let y'all know the results of that meeting. Just know that in the meantime, if DOTD is moving forward and takes them down, then, we're gonna have to figure out to get the money from somewhere,
Sure.
wherever that is. And look, we may, I don't want to be jumping the gun, but we may have a mid-year budget amendment if sales taxes are doing a little bit better. So we may be able to absorb that with a mid-year budget amendment. But those numbers aren't in yet, so we don't really know that. But certainly, I think it's worth trying to maybe grovel or turn up the pressure, whichever way you want to look at it, a little bit more. So I'm with you, and I think Public Works would welcome the support of having the council and the administration, our senators, behind it. And so I will Mr. Boudreau set up that meeting.
I'd like to be invited to that meeting as well, because that's part of that
Just know
borders,
that if-
Johnson Street borders mine as
Just
well.
know that if 5 of y'all asked to be, I'm gonna have to rock, paper, scissors and
Right.
eliminate somebody.
I'm not inviting myself because I love meetings. I'm saying this is part of my district, so I'd like
Yep.
to be there for that reason. So,
Yep.
all right, that's all I have.
And
Thank
we
you,
could
Chairman.
go to the Public Works Liaison Committee. You can set up a meeting with them and other individual council members. That way everybody gets, knows what's going on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilman Boudreau, you have the floor.
Thank you, sir. Certainly, if you're able to set that up, and I was going to suggest, I didn't know exactly who district it actually fell in, but I would suggest that that member be invited as well, or the two members be invited as well, along with their budget books. Because I'm sure there are some line items that are specific to district that the money could be found in, because that's key to this. It's the moving of money, okay?
Well, and
That is extremely key to this.
That came from us. I mean,
Right.
we found those.
Right, oh, I know.
I mean,
Yeah.
they were available funds. The Daigle Street is essentially complete and
Right.
well done.
But based on that
Yes,
location
I-
and how those
I-
funds were secured,
Yeah.
we could start talking about Carmel Drive sidewalks. We could talk about phases of Hyman Park. We could talk about Louisiana Avenue I-10. And to be quite honest, I at least want to hold on to what I have.
I
'Cause
I do
it was
apologize for
hard.
that.
It was
I
hard
should have
getting-
given that more thought.
That Cooley we talked about earlier, Cooley Bend was not even on the books as a capital project when I got here,
Well, I know.
okay? It was hard. I can't afford to lose anything. And when there's their reserve, I have already started mapping things out to where it could go. And is not east, west, south, or even north. It's to stay as close to where it is. There's a lot of heavy priority right there that the department is in agreement with. It's not something made up. So that can't happen, but I would certainly welcome the members who this directly affects. But I really do believe that with the proper push, there are gonna have to be some others, not from the department. You all have done your job. But if the state thinks that's their constituents as well, the representative and the senator and the governor, that's their constituents as well. That's not just city council members and mayor, parish president's constituent. It's their constituents that they're affecting as well. If it's a legitimate project that needs to happen, they need to fund it in its entirety, as far as I'm concerned. We got a lot of things we gotta do that they can't help us with.
Yeah.
So, thank you, that's all I have.
Councilman Cole.
This is digressing a little bit from the subject matter, but I'm curious about something. You and I had a conversation before the meeting about an LCG request which is pending for transfer of monies, about $7 million from the Main Street program in downtown Lafayette. And I'm looking at item number 3, and it talks about taking $1 million of that to lighting and safety upgrades project on Johnson Street. Is that what you're talking about?
That's it.
So that's another item that we're going to bear the cost, which I would think should be a state expense.
Well, that's arguably
That applies to
correct,
this
yes.
debate, correct?
Yeah, no, that money was, the plan was, that was the application, and we would pursue the additional 500 that's needed for the lights as a new project, or as a new application.
And just for the edification of the council, this will probably be considered in March by the Acadiana Planning Organization, and it's not a done deal, but their request has been forwarded.
It's all
Thank you.
federal funds and allocated and applied for in the process.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Robideau?
Now that Bruce brought that up, it did pop a question into my head. Mark, do we know if the lights, the current lights, were those lights put up by the state, or did we pay for that? And it would have been before your time.
I
Mine, but-
actually have not been able to recover any definitive records about it. It's my understanding that those were put up by LCG in the late 80s, early 90s.
I'm just
But
curious.
there's no record of it
Yeah.
available.
Bruce?
Your mic is hot.
Yeah, I kind of.
Bruce, you were here? You were here?
I kind of went round and round on that issue because the folks who own South College Shopping Center wanted to put in some decorative lighting along the rim of their property, and we were told it was an LCG issue, but it's subject to State Department of Transportation approval.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but the lights, the specific lights are the overhead street lights from the mall south, and that was a project done early, specifically just that area. But yeah, that's.
We're going to go ahead and vote on the deferral. Please call the vote on the deferral.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
District 6.
Yes.
District 7.
Yes.
District 8.
Yes.
District 9.
Yes.
District 1.
Yes.
The motion to defer is approved.
And once again, Ms. Williams, I'm having an off night. I forgot to ask for any public comments. Was there any public comments? Please read the next one.
Ordinance 25, 2019, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Parish Council amending the fiscal year 1819 operating budget of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government by increasing the use of fund balance in the Utility System Fund in the amount of $88,386 and appropriating within the Utilities Department for the salary and benefits of the Utilities Director.
A motion by Councilman Conk, a second by Councilman Lewis. Councilman Boudreaux, you have the floor.
I wanted to look at this a little closer before we get to final because of the amount of money that we're dealing with. And I just, again, having worked through some of these budgets and having some of this history that exists, I think it's important that we look at this closely. I can tell you that I have not determined whether or not this is the figure we should land on, but I want to make sure that we have a discussion that is such that covers all bases. And it's because of the large increase. And it also includes, obviously, the fiber director, because of the fact that we have agreed to separate those by vote of this council through the budget process. There assumingly will be a need for more money in that area as well. And I just want us to appreciate what we're doing here with consideration to all of the employees and even our consulting engineering firm and their recommendations. Did we distribute the document yet? Could you do that for me, please? And you could put it up on the screen for those who will not have the document. I pulled some numbers, and I just wanted to share these so we could be leery of exactly what we're considering here. And I know that may be a little difficult to see. And make sure the administrator, I think I printed enough for everybody. If you could see here in fiscal year 07-08, and I referenced this year as the year that bonds was issued for LUS Fiber network, as well as the construction of the network began. The then director was making $127,337, 07-08. 08 and 09, that same salary was duplicated, and this was the first year we actually started serving a LUS Fiber customer, and then there are increases therefore 140, 275. As you could see in 13-14 is when former Mayor President Joey Durrell came, and I want to bring attention to some of the discussion that was then, because in this recommendation, we have a recommendation also coming from our consulting engineer that we should pay a LUS director at minimal $250,000, which is basically what we was paying the last person to do 2 jobs, okay? My concern is not only that, that's why I attached the statement, because then Civil Service Director Mike Sands, and you could read this at your leisure, but then Civil Service Director Mike Sands said that we could not get a LUS Fiber director alone for less than $200,000. So I'm saying, wait a minute. We're going to have a LUS director at $250,000, and a fiber director may be as much as $2. We're at minimum of $450,000. So if you look from 09 to 19 over this 10-year period, that's going to be an increase of about $322,663, which is a lot of money. Of course, we had difficulty giving employees a pay raise at 2%. No, we cannot lose sight of the little guy in these these discussions. I am one that indicated when Mayor President Robideau proposed 150, I think I'm on record saying that that probably won't get us anywhere. So I'm not disputing what it's going to cost. What I'm saying is that we need to be prepared and know what we're about to get into. And that's why I wanted to pull this item, because I think to only look at the LUS director first and only can become disturbing when the fiber director then comes and we're going to see another very large number, and then we compare that to what we have historically spent. And I think for me, and I'm hoping that you're in agreement, the public don't always understand that, because there are going to be some things that are going to have to change and be adjusted because of it. And when we don't do it thoroughly and explain it all, they kind of like, well, where did that come from? And this is one of those situations when you start talking about new revenue, how you're going to pay for certain things, how you're going to do certain things. When we don't do it good at this point, we try to explain it on the back end, it becomes very difficult. So I just wanted to give everybody an appreciation for what is here. And of course, keep in mind that we got employees that work under these directors. And with all due respect to the directors, even Jeff said it himself, he thanked a lot of people that dealt with that emergency along with himself. When we do measures like this, we got to find ways, we got to be creative to learn how to take care of everything underneath it. We cannot create these gaps in providing these services. So take it. I would love to talk further about it. Mr. Bellard, Mr. Kunk, I know you all are introducing this, and I know the administration is in need of this so they could move forward with their process. But members in administration, we need to know exactly what we're getting into and be prepared to explain it thoroughly throughout our activities leading up to the hire of somebody, because this is going to be a significant increase, and there are going to be a lot of people watching on what it's going to take to do this. So that was my purpose for pulling it. I'm concerned that when we did the 250,000, the 246,658, there was no record of a recommendation from the consulting engineering firm. We looked high and low. There was no record of a recommendation. As you could see, there was some quotes from Mr. Durrell as it relates to market and other things, and what was lost and what wasn't included. But we could not find any record of a recommendation from our consulting engineering. But now our consulting engineering is coming and telling us that it's going to take 250 just for one. But we did 250 for two about 5 years ago. So when I look at timelines, when I look at amounts, and when I look at the ultimate action, I just want to make sure we get it right, because I think there are going to be some people with a lot of questions, okay? So that was my purpose for pulling it, to bring a different perspective and a different view, and to always remember our employees who we have trouble with taking care of from time to time. Let's not make this one easy with the blink of an eye, but we have trouble giving 2% to our laborers. Let's keep that in mind. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman Joe. Councilwoman Hebert.
I know that whenever we first started this, going down this road as far as what we were going to do for the salaries for both positions, once we decided we wanted to go both positions, I know we discussed looking at what other communities pay. I haven't received that. I didn't know if we had ever gotten the information as far. You sent it out last Friday. Sorry, I'm having computer issues. I have to get Outlook, something. Okay, so you did send it out last Friday. V, can I get a printed copy of the examples then that was sent last Friday through our emails?
I
Bruce, you
don't
sent
know
it?
that I received it. So if you can,
Okay, please just print it out for me. That way I have an electronic copy of it. And I apologize.
if you forward it to me, I could re-forward it to everyone.
Perfect. Okay, and it includes, you'll have to excuse me trying to start from scratch here, but it includes comparisons of other communities and what they've done and what they're paying. Bruce? Yes.
You're hot.
Just,
You're hot.
I just sent the email. I think I sent it to everyone. Perhaps you were
Okay.
excluded. Okay. But bottom, the gist of the memo from Tony Georges, who is a member of actually is the lead for Next Gen, not Next Gen, but New Gen,
Not to
I
be
should say.
confused.
Not to be confused. And he had done a very quick survey across the country based on his experience and input from his cohorts in the business. In addition, we got some input from the American Public Power Association, and his conclusion was that just comparing Louisiana cooperatives, which is more or less apple for apple, it was approximately $300,000 mean salary level for similar size utilities. The APPA benchmark ranged from 235 to 265. So that's the range that we identified to target, to allow Mr. Robideau to move forward in seeking qualified candidates.
okay. And that's just for utilities. Have we looked into something similar to fiber director?
So a brief history of why this came about. Mr. Bellard and I were invited to a meeting with the New Gen consultants and with Mr. Robideau, President, and Mr. Escott. And our goal was to begin the process of recruiting candidates for that position. And we loosely identified some criteria. But at the top of the list is the $150,000 in the budget today enough to move forward and even consider candidates who would be qualified for the position? Am I stating that correct, Mr. Robideau? We had to have that conversation. We had to have a beginning number, and the thought process at that time was 150 was not adequate. Is that?
That's correct. And basically, Mr. Robideau we did not want, as a team, or in general, the people that met, we didn't want to go meet with not having approval from the council of what you're going to pay someone. We wouldn't want someone flying from Dallas who doesn't even know what the range is, having to do whatever they need to do from their employer to get here. So basically, it was just us, the council, us nine people, are going to tell Mr. Robideau, we are going to agree with what the experts said that this should be the range of it, or we say, no, it's not, and he finds someone for a lesser rate. That's what I got out of the meeting, was to at least show some presence of, yes, we're agreeing to this range, and then he can go and seek out the qualified people. Mr. Robideau, would you like to add anything, or did I say that properly?
No, I think you and Bruce have I needed to start moving forward with the engineers of record. I had decided to put them first in that ultimately I need their approval. And so I said, well, the easiest way to get their approval is to have them vet all the candidates and then present me with a list that I can choose from that they've already pre-approved. The one thing that they asked was, okay, well, what's the salary range? I said, well, right now it's 150. We should meet with the chairman of the LPUA and the council to see if that's where it's going to stay. You please do your homework, get some information for them, present it at the meeting, and then we can decide to go forward and come up with a number that we can then at least have in place for the candidates, whether it's 150 or whatever the council ultimately decides, then that's what they're going to move forward with. And I think that's where this amount came from, is saying that this is going to get you in the range that you need to be if you're going to want to attract similar candidates from similar sized municipally owned utility systems.
No, that's perfect. And Bruce, if you don't mind resending that to me, maybe printing out.
I have it, and I'll
Perfect.
forward it to the council.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman Boudreaux, you have the floor.
Yes, sir. I don't know if this should come from the chair of one of the bodies or the mayor president. Have the engineer send to us as soon as possible the actual cities and communities that he actually looked at. I would like to know the name of those that he specifically compared us to or considered in this comparison.
If it's not in the email, then we'll get it
It's not,
for you.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, what Bruce read, I remember reading the email. Yeah, it only speaks about what they conclude after their study, but they didn't include any communities. They talked about our size, right? They talked about systems of our size and things like that, but they didn't tell me who. I need to know who.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Robideau, if you can follow up with that, and Mr. Conk, will me and you will follow up. V, that'd be something noted for Mr. Boudreaux and the entire council, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I think, Mr. Chairman, if Bruce could probably do it right now, just let Tony know that we need to back up information from which he sent that email to us.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Seeing no other council discussion, is there any public comment?
No, sir.
Please call the vote.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
District 6,
Yes.
District 7,
Yes.
District 8,
Yes.
District 9, District 1,
Yes.
District 2.
Yes.
The motion to introduce is approved. Ordinance 26, 2019, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Parish Council establishing standards for small wireless facilities in the rights of way in the city of Lafayette and the parish of Lafayette, unincorporated parish.
Need a motion and a second. I have a motion by Councilman Boudreaux. I have a second by Councilman Lewis. Councilman Boudreaux, you have the floor.
Thank you, sir. On this particular item, members, as you could see, this is an ordinance for small cell deployment. And what I'm offering at this time is a substitute ordinance to amend what I submitted. After consulting with legal and looking at some of the details of what applies to LCG that does not apply to other communities, our code numbers, and a few other things, rather than having a lot of red lines, we felt that this would be a cleaner version, similar to what we recently did for the charter amendment when there was so many changes. So what I'm offering at this time is a substitute ordinance amendment. It's provided for you in your packet in its entirety, and for introductory purposes, I would like to remove what I submitted and put in place what has been provided by legal.
All right, there is a proposed amendment to substitute a revised ordinance as prepared by legal. Councilman Boudreaux has the motion. Councilman Conk has the second on the proposed amendment. Any council discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, any public comments on the amendment?
No, sir.
So I do have one more thing, and this is I just feel compelled to do this because, believe it or not, since 3 o'clock today, I've been asked, why are you doing this? So I went into my community, and Joseph, could you bring that picture up for me, please? I tell people there's more to me as a councilman than addressing guns and violence and poor people and lack of jobs and housing and blight and condemnations. I know that's what it seems like we focus on, but keep in mind I've been here a little while. And, technology means a lot to me as well, in addition to, services and the ability for my community to be well connected and to keep up. This is a picture of something in Macomb, as you could see in the public right-of-way. It's in the green space in between the street and the sidewalk. So imagine this is, you have, I don't know how long typical telephone poles are, maybe 30 feet or something more. This one here is about 8 feet. So you got an 8 feet wooden creosote pole that no longer has creosote in it with some things attached to it. And this is what they do in my community. And, in other communities, they make them pretty like trees, like palm trees and things. So for those who may be concerned, like, why is even Kenneth concerned about this? It's to prevent this. It's to prevent this, and that's why I jumped on this ordinance. I've had many discussions with the administration on this ordinance. Legal has been working on this for quite some time. Actually, as far as I'm concerned, we're behind. It took longer than anyone ever expected because we had talked about having this done last year, okay? So going into this year, and we're pushing the button. So the reason that I'm going to remain very active in this discussion, and this ordinance as it is proposed, and I'm supporting its introduction, doesn't mean that things will not be adjusted and changed. Mr. Abed did afford me the opportunity to glance through it, and I was certainly comfortable enough to substitute it, but there may or may not be a need to change some things as it relates to the Lafayette community. But I wanted to just share that picture for people who are making assumptions or who are curious as to what is Kenneth doing introducing something related to technology. This is why right here. So y'all take that picture, send it to everybody. That's very ugly. But I don't know, I haven't found it anywhere else in Lafayette. It might exist. And if it does, please take a picture and show me. But it's in my community. That's why we have to be a part of this process, to make sure we get the good stuff as well. Thank you.
Mr. Boudreau, I'm just curious, what is that equipment? What's the purpose of it?
And ironically, I asked Tom Carroll that years ago, and he didn't know. I have never asked Mr. Dubrock, and I've never asked Mr. Stewart. I don't know if it's telephone. I don't know what it is, who it is, and what it serves. But no one has been able to tell me. But it went up, and it's in our right-of-way. If it didn't get permitted, it's there. But I don't know. It's 3 components. You're familiar with it? Okay.
Cut the line.
We're gonna find out quick. Yeah, cut the line at the base. We're gonna find out quick. Huh? I don't know. I have asked a couple of our directors, former directors. I've never talked to these guys about, but I don't know what it is.
And to the public, don't go cut the line. But go ahead.
And the question I ask, the reason I ask is that I have looked into 5G, and we're talking about 5G technology, and the apparatus, the hardware that will go into play would actually be larger than that. And it's going to be spaced a couple of 100 yards apart, 300 yards apart. It's not like the big towers we have now that do a 20-mile radius.
Right.
These will be located in close proximity to each other throughout the city. And I think the question that we're going to address is, if nothing else, can our utility poles bear the weight of this technology? That's a big question. I think you probably address it. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I think it was addressed, and I know we don't want to get into too detailed a discussion, but I know in conversations with Mr. Robert, I guarantee you, every meeting we had, I think the first thing that came out was what it's going to look like, because I think that is the major concern of most people, and most of the vendors who I've spoken to say it could look like whatever you want it to look like. That's why we got to be part of this process, to make sure we tell them what we're going to accept in our communities. So, but I just wanted to share that with you all. Hopefully now people won't be surprised that I'm doing something other than blight. Huh, Danielle, I see you walking out. We're going to talk Alice before next week, though. But I do a little something here, too, as well. Thank you, Mr. Bellard.
Thank you, sir. Please call the vote on the amendment.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
District 6.
Yes.
District 7,
Yes.
District 8,
Yes.
District 9, District 1,
Yes.
District 2, District 3. The motion to amend is approved.
Seeing no council discussion on the ordinance as amended, Ms. Williams, any public comment on the amendment?
No, sir.
I'd like to call for a vote to introduce the ordinance as amended.
District 5,
Yes.
District 6.
Yes.
District 7,
Yes.
District 8,
Yes.
District 9, District 1,
Yes.
District 2, District 3, District 4. The motion to introduce as amended is approved.
This meeting's adjourned.